My name is Jodie Yates. I am a creative producer, presenter / DJ, and a lot of the work I do centres around retelling Black narratives, sharing stories about powerful Black people in the community, Black history, and I always just find my work is there to kind of uplift and educate people in whatever I do, and that's just something that comes naturally to the kind of work that I put out. Creole Cuts is a creative collective that I co-founded with two of my friends. I'd actually never met one of them before, and then we were like, we should do something together. And essentially, we are three girls who are all mixed race of Caribbean descent, and we wanted to come together to create a platform that expresses our Caribbean identity. And we wanted to found a collective that kind of embodies that Caribbean spirit. So for us, we consider the spirit of the Caribbean to be carnival, conviviality and community. So in everything we do, be it radio shows or DJ sets, we just want to bring that energy to everything we give out to the public. And I think we found that the power of Creole Cuts is that in doing something to celebrate our cultural identity, we've also been allowed to celebrate our sisterhood and the power of being women, being Black women and having each other. And I think that's what's really made Creole Cuts kind of thrive in the last 18 months, and we've had a really organic, natural journey. And much like my own motivations in doing work, Creole Cuts just believe in kind of empowering people, sharing knowledge, educating people, but also uplifting them. And so I found Creole Cuts have been a great vehicle in the last couple of months through which I can explore everything that's been going on in the current climate as a way to kind of like bring joy to people and not just focus on the negative, the deathly images that we're seeing. We find it's really important as well as that to kind of bring the joy and bring the light in these situations too. So that's Creole Cuts. I wrote an article for Pan-African Music, an online music media platform. And I wrote an article about the Brixton riots in 1981 and the music that kind of came out of those events. And so I wanted to write this article because for us in the Black community, music has always been a way to kind of explore our struggles and a way to resist and rebel. So whether it's in times of early slavery, music was used as a way for slaves who were mixed by where they came from, so they couldn't communicate through language. It was a way for them to communicate and to lift spirits in those horrible times. And so we've seen constantly throughout history how music is a site of resistance. And so even as recently as the 1980s, I wanted to explore how this happened in the 1980s and during the Brixton riots. And not just the Brixton riots, these were happening across the country at the time, but also explore how these riots and the music that came out of them paralleled with the music and social experiences that are happening today. And so the article featured artists like Matumbi, Linton Kwesi Johnson and other figures who were dominant in the reggae scene at the time, but not necessarily dominant in British media or mainstream British music. For example, there's a moment in the article where I discuss sus laws, and I think I also use a poem by Linton Kwesi Johnson called Sunny's Letter, and in parentheses it's anti-sus poem. And Sunny's Letter is a poem that explores the idea that two brothers were standing around doing nothing, coming back from their commute, and they're stopped by the police, and subsequently one of them gets murdered, the other one is in prison because of their encounter with the police. And we've seen recently in British society that sus laws have been reinstated. And so I found it important to use music as kind of like a history book to go back in time and see the true stories that were happening then, and then shine a light on that for a modern audience so that people can't forget these stories. However, today, I think the Black consciousness is much more widely accepted in music. Today we're seeing a lot more political Black music and political Black artists come to the forefront. Whether it's Kendrick Lamar at the start of his career, Dave at Brits, Stormzy at Glastonbury, we're seeing Black people come to the stage in a very political way and be thrusted into the centre of contemporary society. So these are obviously big main stages. And in response to more recent events such as George Floyd, we're seeing many albums come out, whether it's in dedication to the things that have been happening, or the fact that many labels and institutions are now facilitating more political albums to be released. And I think this can sometimes be a bit contrived because we're seeing with a lot of musical institutions and a lot of major labels, they're allowing more political music to be released from them, but it's kind of because they know that it has to be. They have to be shown as if they support Black music and support Black artists. I wrote an article on how to navigate the music industry as a person of colour, and I definitely use that phrase with a pinch of salt because I think it others us. However, there aren't really any other terms for which we can collectively describe Black and brown people, so I think that's the only one that I'm okay with using. But I wrote it because it's very clear that there's huge disparities in the music industry, and Black and brown people are at a huge disadvantage. I think a recent survey showed that there was only 18% of people working in the music industry who were of a POC background. And so I wanted to write the article to show other people coming up that there are people out there who are also like you and are also struggling through the music industry, because I think it's very easy to feel isolated in this industry. So I know that I've been in jobs where I'm the only person of colour in the room, and I then take it upon myself to be like, okay, right, I have to pull up the whole of my people, I have to pull up every Black and brown person to get to this point, and that's my duty. However, that burden is very heavy when you're the only person of colour in a workplace, and paired with the stresses of working in the music industry and working in creative industries, that can be really debilitating for Black and brown people. So I really just wanted to write the article to show other people that you're not alone. But I write it also with a pinch of salt because I know that my experiences differ hugely to someone else with darker skin than me. There's others in the music industry who will struggle more just because of the colour of their skin. And I, in comparison, have had very few discriminations just on my skin. It will be more microaggressions. So I feel like whoever you are in the music industry, your race always comes into play, just at different levels, and you experience that at different levels. To young Black and brown people, I'd say to consider schemes like Creative Mentor Network and Creative Access, which are organisations that aim to help people from different socioeconomic or different ethnic minority backgrounds and bring them into the creative industries and into the music industry, where people who are young, Black and brown might think it's impossible to get to. And I'd just like to say to them that it's not impossible. I'm here, I'm trying, and there's many other people like us who are trying to do the same thing.